And bam. I scheduled my hairs did because I'm doing panels at PAX Dev and PAX West this week. And then the panels got scheduled. Eventually I looked at the schedule. I'm like, I have 15 minutes between when my hair is supposed to be done and when the panel starts. I can probably make it. I was like, well, okay, I gotta get my PAX Dev badge this morning before the haircut so that I can make sure I can just run in there into the panel like as it's starting. So got the badge, scarfed down some food, and the hair takes forever. I love it, and I like doing it. If you're not time pressured, it's a fun experience, but it's like, 4 hours to do the lightening and the dyeing and the haircut and everything. So did that, ran to the panel, just scarfed down a granola bar for a little bit of sustenance because convention time tends to get crazy. Alright, I thought I was going to be back a little earlier, so apologies for getting started a little late here, but wanted to dive in anyways. I have a little bit of time between this event and my next PAX meeting, so wanted to hop on stream. I was really enjoy hanging out with everyone, and always love the creative flow of getting the juices flowing. Make sure my phone is do not disturb because I have it set up in this cool desk thing with a phone, hard plastic with a phone holder. But the downside is that if it does buzz, like, it's right next to the microphone. So we're all set. I didn't mention it last week, but your top has some moire effect. I don't know what that is. I think I know what you're talking about. Because I know, yes. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. For those not in the know, look up the moire effect. I know this is a pattern that's probably not the best for streaming. I really like this shirt, but with the dots on it, like the way it shows up on camera is probably, I don't know if it's good or bad. Might be a little bit distracting. I'm like, sometimes I just go with a t-shirt. I'm like, I look fancy. I like my fancy shirts. It was just on the panel too, so I'm like, I look fancy for the panel. Like hair, fancy shirt, and then rip knee jeans and my Doc Martens. That is my look. This is my speaker look. Patent pending. Alright. Moire is a cool word. I almost want to use moire effect, or maybe just pattern. Have we used pattern before as an inspiration? I'm not sure. What did we do last week? We did misinterpreted intent. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. It's been a crazy, in addition to all the PAX prep stuff, went away for the weekend to the beach, which was really nice. And then just working on a new game that I'm very excited about with a development partner, hopefully potential publisher. So really excited for that to be a thing. It's going really well so far. I'm trying to remember if this misinterpreted intent. Oh my gosh, yeah, we were talking about the knotted ropes last week. And moving your pieces closer to and further away from each other to symbolize this evolving image of how relationships change with different amounts of information. I remember I was like, oh man, I really wanted to prototype that. Soon. Soon. One of these weeks, it won't be a convention week or a recovery week. I'm excited. I'm looking at one of the really cool people in the industry. JR Honeycutt runs these design retreats, and I finally committed to one in Portland. So hopefully that will be in October, I think. So if not before then, that'd be a good chance to get a lot of this stuff prototyped. So we've been coming up with some really cool stuff on this stream. I'm excited to get it out there, especially, and showed it off to everyone who helped me out and worked so hard on it. But yeah, let's start off with our mind mapping here. Pattern. Unless I'll cross this out. If anyone else is very excited about a word that we're going to start brainstorming from, in case you're here for the first time, start with our blank slate here, our blank page, start from nothing, chat, brainstorm, come up with concept ideas that, or mechanical ideas that eventually work their way into a game. And then if we have time, do a little bit of pre-prototyping, prototype planning. We start with words sometimes, or design challenges. If anyone is like, you should try doing this for a game. I'm doing a cool one this weekend. I think it's actually going to be recorded for PAX, which is a 4-hour make an RPG live thing. So me and 3 other people. It's like an Iron Chef for RPG construction. We're going to start with some inspiration, some things shared, some things independent, and come up with an RPG they're actually going to teach to people and run for people all within the 4-hour span. I think this is a really good practice for what's going to happen this weekend. All right, pattern. I'm going to put moire on here. That's such a cool word. I'm glad that I learned that. I'm going to post a picture of it for anyone who doesn't have as awesome of a vocabulary as Tech Target, our Senior Bob. Can produce interesting and beautiful geometric patterns. The visual perception that occurs when viewing a set of lines or dots that is superimposed upon another set of lines of dots, like your monitor. Crazy. I wonder if I can draw out what that looks like. Yeah, if you have your grid of dots, picture it this way. So these are the dots on the shirt. Let me bring this down a little bit. And then your monitor, which is pixels, right? You don't normally realize it, but it's also dots, or the way that it shows up, the dots can intersect. And then you get these cool rippling intersections when things overlap. Right, different types of patterns, lines. Yeah, drawing out as lines might be a little, or look at the thing that I linked. That's got a pretty good representation and explanation. I always knew it was a thing. It's a cool phenomenon. And it's interesting, right? Because it's a total tech age thing with TVs and computer monitors. Lines, dots. Patterns are all about repetition. I knew about it from 3D animation class. We had to blur textures slightly to avoid it. And that's a really funny thing, right? This idea that in order for something to look better or crisper, you might have to blur it. Patterns, like that little story tidbit there. Because the issue is, yeah, with the dots, with a pattern, this is probably really distracting with the moire on here. With being able to see the pattern too crisply, that's when it intersects with the other dots and creates the problem. I like thinking about that as mechanic. This idea that you're obscuring something in order to make it more clear. Perspective, right? That makes me think of perspectives, all the tricks that perspectives can make, whether you're looking at something at an angle or looking at it from far away as opposed to really close up. Just watched Labyrinth at the movie theater the other weekend because they were doing a throwback theater night, and they had the really cool, if you look at it from one angle, it's like a bunch of rocks. They're just sitting there, but if you look at it from just the right angle, there's like one rock that's like this, and another thing it's like this, another formation comes out like this, so it ends up making a face, right? If you look at it from just the right perspective. You see cool art on stairs sometimes where they'll have a picture a picture of a blob. I don't know, I just started drawing there. I wasn't sure it was gonna be. Wow, the wow blob if you look on it directly, but if you look at it from like a lower angle, you're not gonna see the whole picture because it's gonna be all separated. Shifting perspectives, point of view. Senior Bob says, less is more, avoids information overload. Gameologist, pattern makes me think of routine. Agreed. Conventional wisdom, mental shortcuts, and heuristics that get fossilized. Ooh, I love that, use that word. Fossilized over time into patterns of thought. The magic comes from being able to find a perspective orthogonal to the heuristic that solves a problem situation in a new way. All right, I'm going to add this to our mind map. Routine. Conventional wisdom. Heuristics, such a good word. Fossilized. So this kind of feeds into the same thing that we're talking about when you think of orthogonal. Orthogonal is also a really cool word. You're talking about layouts, or board games use this term a lot. Orthogonal movement. It's up, down, to the side. I think it's such an interesting word too, because if you hear it a lot, especially in teaching games, like, oh, orthogonal movement, you know, it means I don't go diagonally. Or you lay out the cards orthogonally. You know, I can lay them to the top and bottom or to the side. But it does also have this sense when you're talking about thinking orthogonally, it's not completely randomly or not completely off in the distance, but next to, with like a shift. Of or involving right angles, at right angles. So you kind of, this idea of turning something, you know, you're not like shaking it up completely, you're taking it out of context, you're just rotating or shifting. So I really like those. Yeah, shifting, exactly. Shifting perspectives, rotating. Orthogonal, all this hand movement here. It's making me think of and rotation concepts. Having a cube. Just twisting it. It's like, do I have cubes here? Yeah, I got little baby ones. I want, gosh, like, it's like I don't have tape here. One day, someday soon, I'm gonna have everything set up here. So, like, I want to make a paper cube. Like, I don't have my tape here, but I got a little baby cube. And I can draw on it too. I don't have a dice. That's a funny thing, right? It's like, I don't have dice in my battle station here. But it's cool though, because you can think rotating an item from side to side, rotating to another face, just rotating it around an axis. And for some shapes, no matter how you rotate it, it's always going to be the same. You can do other shapes, right, like this, that will look different depending on how they're rotated. Yeah. You have the lines on the side, right? This is giving a top or bottom, like an up and down. Or a completely different one. Like, you can rotate it two ways, or this shape, right? Every direction you rotate it is another thing. Game Biologist says, the hitman can kill you a lot easier when there's an obvious pattern to your daily routine. That is a good point. Never forget it. Cool real-world pattern orthogonal examples. Pine plantations. If you look from one side of the block, it looks like a fairly normal pine stand with trees scattered around fairly densely. If you turn 90 degrees, you're lined up with a rows of trees get planted in. It looks like a huge cornfield. Yeah. That's a super cool perspective thing, right? Because the thing itself doesn't change, but the way you see it changes, so your understanding of it changes, right? Kind of like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? Observation and reality. Chaos going to structure. So yeah, we have our little Christmas tree farm here. You know, some will look closer than others. Got this one back here. Now I'm really doing a Bob Ross over here. I love it. It's just like, just a bunch of trees in a place. So you observe this. And you're like, oh, it's a tree field, chaos, nature created. And you have all these assumptions based on the observation. Based on obs. And in your mind, it is real, right? I'm driving in a car, I look up, see a bunch of trees, like, oh, it's a forest. I look down, I look up again, and all of a sudden, just make these triangles to save time. I see the rows. The rows were there the whole time. And that's the thing that's really going to bake your noodle, right? Were they real? Are they real if I don't observe them? Of course they are, right? you can make statements, you can make predictions, someone can tell you about them. There's a lot of ways you can observe it, but in that moment, my understanding of this thing, my interpretation of it changed, and my real world actions, right? Like if I'm driving along the car, look down, it's like, oh, it's a forest, there's a bunch of random trees in there, and I look up, I see the rose, I'm like, oh, it's a Christmas tree farm. Maybe I should stop and buy a Christmas tree. It's a little dramatic, but changes in perspective aren't just about what we see and what happens in our mind. There's an interesting back and forth, input-output dichotomy, right? Like what we input, what we process, and we do in response to our understanding of the world. What we see, what we think, how we respond to and I think in a lot of games it's assumed, especially board games, it's assumed that you will have perfect information, that you might not notice something about the board state, or you may not understand something about what's going on, but all of the information should be there for you to consume and process and make optimal decisions about. But that's an interesting concept. If there's something like, what if the board lies to you? I'm going to put that in quotes, right? Because it's not really lying, it's a different truth, right? And then we come to the trick. It's like, what is reality? What is truth? Illusion is a cool game that plays around with perspective and observation. So I think it's by the same people who did The Mind. It's got these cards where it has blobs of different colors, and you're trying to guess, I believe, which has the most. Like, is there more blue than red on these cards? And they make it tricky with the way that they have everything organized and are trying to trick you. So that's a cool game that plays around with what you see versus what exists. I'm interested to think about more ways that you could play around with that dichotomy. So Bob, look at a pyramid from the top, it looks like a square. Look at it from the side, it looks like a triangle, right? Yeah. Right, depending on the shading, you might just see this. You might see a dot. You might see the lines going down. You know, if you have a darker sides and lighter sides. You wouldn't be able to tell, looking at it from this way, what the structure is. Also, looking at it perfectly from the side, you know, if you couldn't see either other side, if you're looking at it, I guess if you're looking at it up from a low vantage point, right, you might just see this big triangle, and you have no, from one perspective, you have no way of knowing, you know, is it a pyramid or is it a... I guess that's also kind of a pyramid, but like flat It's like I never know the exact terms for this. Like cubic prism. A cube has a really cool, really easy to remember name, right? But a rectangular prism, I think that's what it is. If it's a not perfectly cuboid shape, it's got a different name to it. Yeah, but like a flat. And then if you're looking down at it or looking at it from the side, yeah, put a little ball in there, so why not? One of the great things about this stream is working on practicing drawing my geometric shapes. Which is something I should practice more. I took a class in college, which is one of the best classes I took, that was product rendering, how to draw shapes, communicate the ideas you're trying to get across very quickly. So not necessarily doing like a true rendering or a perfect image, but something we could say right away. Like this is a candy bar. Or this is a lint roller, right? Or this is a ice cream popsicle stick. Oh yeah, one of those double popsicle sticks. Oh man, now I want a popsicle. Yeah, again, we're doing sidebars now, but it's interesting. I, having taken this class and haven't practiced nearly enough, and it's been a long time, but I do, especially if I take some time and think about it, have this idea that I can communicate mostly something. So I want to like sketch out a house that I saw recently looking on Zillow, looking at houses. So like, oh, it had like the door, and it was kind of like a lower house with the middle part here, and there's like stairs coming around down to the front, and had a bunch of windows. And it has a turret apparently, or just like the middle part was farther up. And this was all, it was like on a hill, and had the driveway coming around the back, like a one-car garage. Yeah, just like that. Not perfect by any means, right? But it's cool to be able to have some ability to communicate, because saying what something looks like with words is really hard. Ties back into perspective and could potentially tie into the game that we're coming up with today. It's interesting. That's something we've been talking about a fair amount recently, is the communication going back and forth between pictures and words. It's like, I'm not sure if we necessarily want to do something that's word picture, word based for this, but it'd be cool to play around with some sort of visual obscuration. Gameballer says there's a game coming out new that's all about building shapes cooperatively with each player only knowing what's like from one angle. Yeah, before you even put the link, I was gonna say mental blocks, because I saw that at the Pandasaurus booth. Yeah, I saw a bunch of people walking around with at Gen Con. I think they had a large version of it there too. I didn't have time to stop and check it out, but it's like, oh, that looks so cool. Yeah, it's one of those cool puzzles where you're trying to line everything up, but I like the twist where everyone has their own perspective that they're looking at it from. Well, that's it. Perspective games have been done. No point in making another game about perspective. Just kidding. Yeah, so that's a cool place to having these couple of things. We got illusion, we got mental blocks. How can we take this idea of perspective and do something a little different than what's been done before? It's one of the nice things about going to conventions, playing more games, being on board game Twitter, seeing the kinds of things that people talk about. I don't ever want anyone to be disillusioned or to have a really cool idea and then see like, oh, somebody else is making a pasta game. I don't want to make a pasta game anymore. Don't ever think like that. But just seeing what people are doing, you can, not make something exactly like that, but it can help to inspire you and give you something to push against. Be like, oh, mine's different because of this. So these games that we've talked about so far today, when it comes to illusion and perspective, is this idea of, you're looking at it like this from this side, and then from this other side, you might just see... As I'm drawing this, I suddenly remember like those rotational puzzles that were supposed to test your knowledge for seeing things in a 3D space. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I was bad at those. Not bad. We never want to say that we're bad at things, right? Just some skills are stronger than others. That works, right? Yeah, so what I'm picturing now, I'm like, will I be able to do the 3D representation of what I was trying to... Yeah, what would I say about practice here, right, folks? So like this, and then there's a middle block here. It goes across there. And then this one's like... Okay, yeah, this would work, because you would see from this side, and it's like two triangle blocks that are sloping down on either side. But if you looked at it perfectly on this one, you would only see that. Cool. So that's my guess for what mental blocks is. We're not doing mental blocks, because we're doing a different game. It's like I'm having a vision. I'm seeing something in the future of games. I'm seeing cards covering up pieces of a board. Or maybe cards covering up other games. Hey, it's just like heart catchers, but in reverse. Obscured information, or heck, why don't we go weird with components? Like, imagine a cloth. Like a... Not something like mental blocks, but you have your... Create your tower, or whatever. And there's like a sphere over here. And some cylinders over here. And just like drape a sheet over it. Cover it with a cloth. Cover up. See, that's a game, right? Do a thing, cover it with a sheet, cover it with something else. You can't see what's underneath there. Gameologist, patterns in words, cryptography, yeah. Sidebar, traffic patterns, ooh, yeah. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, this combination of words, I like it. There's, oh man. I haven't gotten huge into the train games, although I am being sucked a little bit in that direction. But anything with cars moving and observing the weird ways in which things flow. I do this thing. We have a balcony in our apartment. Looks right over this fairly busy street, and there's a bunch of streets because we're in the middle of the city. So sometimes I go out there, just like relaxing. You know, there's some water, there's the birds in the sky, those buildings, but I watch the cars. You know, I want to see their movement, and I think it stresses me out a little bit. Cars drive from a distance because I don't have any control, right? And some of these people drive really badly. If you're sitting and watching people drive for a while, especially from a top-down perspective, you see the kind of things like, well, they're here and they're like trying to move over here and this other person's coming up there, and luckily I've never seen anything bad happen, which I don't know what I would do. Probably call 911 if it was really bad. But yeah, all these times, and then there's a bus moving slowly and this person's like following them really closely. Not even like I think anyone's gonna crash. Just the stress of like, oh, you're tailgating there. Why are you tailgating? Or the person's running across during a red light. And you see the cars start to come. It's like, run faster. It's this whole, it's like my TV show, right? My sitting in the sun, getting some fresh air TV show of stressing out over people driving cars. I like this. Think accessibility and remove sight as a limiting factor as a way to work with tactile patterns. Braille but not braille. Sound patterns. What's the next drop mix? Oh my gosh, this is... I love when worlds collide. So this is a game that I'm working on. This is my digital game that I made during a game jam years ago that came out like weirdly well. And I should really get back to it because it's a really cool concept. But you're navigating in space. You don't see anything on the screen except for like pretty shapes or whatever. Like back in the day when you're listening to like Windows Media Player and there would be those patterns. Like it was all the rage at one point and then went away, I guess. You might see those, but you're moving. There is behind the scenes, behind the veil. By the way, veil, good word. Behind the veil. Actually, no, that's a good title. Ah, as I drop my marker. That's a good title for today's stream. There's a navigation where you're moving. It's based on a tutorial, actually. That's the rollerball. It's like the first tutorial you do when you're learning Unity. So you're moving this shape around, you can't see anything, but as you get closer to the things you're supposed to pick up, to the objectives, the sound gets louder. And if you go too far off the edges, you can't go infinitely, and you can't get stuck up against the wall because you'll hear an ocean sound. It's a little bit of audio feedback. And I wanted to, again, game jam. I was doing this mostly by myself. Hadn't done a lot of Unity before, so I didn't get to flesh it out too much, but playing around with what are the audio cues that are really easy to follow. So like a shrinking rate. If it gets louder, you know, maybe it gets faster. There's a pulsing noise. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with sound. So that's the digital one. You might be able to do something cool with physical, though. I mean, operation, right? There's not enough feedback. You only get the feedback when you fail, which isn't great. But I could see potentially getting, I'm not good at that at all, by the way, but if you could like feel it out and you didn't just lose when the sound went off, you could potentially do that without vision. It'd be very stressful though. Migration patterns of animals. Ooh, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put migration here because we're going on a weird tangent. Ooh. Down the tangent trail. I found out on vacation this month that French Lick, Indiana, used to be on the migration pathway of the buffalo. And the city has buffalo statues there too on account of it. Nice. The buffalo have all been dead for over 100 years due to rampant killing by white settlers, but the stories persist. Speaking of an echo of a pattern that's been long gone. It's really sad. Yeah, that... Which isn't bad. You know, we've talked about on the stream before representations of different types of emotions in games or board games, treading into waters that are a little less explored. So if thinking about traffic or migration, there's the first level, you know, where you have patterns. I'm just gonna sketch out some rough stuff. You have roads. Again, orthogonal, right? Orthogonal, if we're doing societal, urban, or maybe migration patterns. And my guess would be that they're a little more organic, although I know they're weirdly systematic. Like, that's one of the cool things about migrating animals, right? You could be like, this is a coastline or a country. Just imagine it. It's like the paths. Oh man, I don't know if you know about this. Migration of ghost animals. I was gonna laugh at that, but I like the kind of feeling of loss that comes with that. Yeah, I'd love to look up migration paths over time. I imagine there's a place where you can find that information and see a map. Migrations, they probably have more modern ones, but did they have people who were plotting migrations for species that have since died off or gone extinct or been hunted into extinction? You could tie it into existing creatures and make it a cultural, historical thing. Or you could go more fantastical and more allegorical, perhaps. Because the sense of loss and discovery, where someone might realize, like, oh, this is what the game is about, can be a cool feeling in games. You're tracking creatures, you're researching migration paths. Maybe you're doing it as they're disappearing. Numbers are dwindling. And then there are no more. It's actually pretty intense. It's funny, sometimes as I write these things out, I'm like, oh, that sounds fun, oh, that sounds weird. Even just thinking about them or describing them, I can feel, it's like, wow, if I was playing a game where it wouldn't even have to be animals, you just be like, oh, these dots are moving from here to here, and there's fewer and fewer of them. It's like, oh, there's no dots left. Even that much removed, or that much theoretical, I would feel bad, you know, even if it was like just dots. I would be like, well, where did the dots go? I'm sad, I miss those dots. So imagine, I should probably dot these so they look more like paths, but for migration paths, they're kind of informed by geography. There's certain limitations for water sources. If there's a valley, they might funnel into it, or there's a wide open plain, they might get a little closer together. Migration is so cool. You just like animals over tens of thousands of years, right? Doing the same, coming from the same place and going to the same place. Same Bob, sometimes good at sideways thinking. I think you're great at sideways thinking. Game biologist, migration tends to follow geographic. Yeah, that's what I said. You probably said it before me, but I didn't read it, I swear. Rivers, mountain ranges, some is visual cues, some is more practical. Thermal updrafts for flying, food sources, yeah. Mammal migration tends to follow food. Look at very large mammals for migration. Caribou, bison, whales, elephants. I think birds or geese are pretty cool too, with this idea of touchdown. So less, you know, you might not be, you can still track their path, I guess, just where they're flying. But where they touch down is like it's spots, right? More like hops. Not as constrained by geography. Conservation have tried to rebuild some migration paths. It's not easy. Check out the whooping crane story. Oh yes, I definitely want to dig into this. Looks like there's some really cool stuff going on. Yeah, reconstructing. Just the game biology, you probably know the term for this. Like reconstructing historical migration data. You'd be it wouldn't be anthropological because that's for humans. Like an archaeological migration historian. Yeah, whatever the term for that is. I want to figure that out because it's that could be the name of the game. Game About It says we're learning more about insect migration. Did I know that insects migrate? What? As tracking tech gets smaller and citizen science is easier to mobilize online. Yeah, with like the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, like the SETI computers using people's computers, that kind of thing. Or individuals reporting, like crowdsourcing the data. Everyone knows about monarch butterflies. Yeah, I guess so. Did I know that? I probably knew that. Did you know that green darner dragonflies also have a long migration? I did not know that, and that is super cool. I'm going to make a note of that because I know that now. It's in my brain. When are they going to stick there? I'm going to have to work on memorization of that fact. Green darner dragonflies. It's the kind of thing you bring up at dinner parties, right? Did you know that green darner dragonflies have a long migration? Person's like, what? Yeah, I'm making a game about it. Senior Bob says, I designed a game quite a while ago about fish leaving the Amazon River during the flood season and then having to make it to the river and avoid predators during the dry season. It uses flood tiles that are removed from play. Oh, that's super cool. One of my favorite games as a kid, it was a playground game. I think I only played it like once or twice because there was setup involved with it. The grade school I went to was cool. Some of the teachers were very enthusiastic about conservation, and we got to do field trips where we like go to a river and we got to go to a water treatment plant. It sounds super dorky, but it was super fun. That was like one of my favorite field trips ever. it's like, here's where all the sewage goes. I'm like, oh, I'm like, ew. And then you get in there, you're like, wow, this is super cool. Yeah, anyways, so the fun game we played is we were learning about salmon migration, and there was this whole thing with like the turbines, and people were like swinging the jump rope, and you had to go through this path, and then people were like running. There's like a ladder thing. There's this whole elaborate setup. It was basically an obstacle course, but I'm like, yeah, it was super fun, and I love doing active things like that. So I'm like, oh, I wish I could remember how the salmon run game worked, because I really want to play the salmon run game again. Check out the field of restoration ecology. Excellent. Salmon cannon? Oh gosh. Basic literature searching is the foundation for figuring out the historic potential of a landscape that goes into thinking about what may be possible. Restoration ecology. Cool. And historical records. I imagine some of it is reproduced from letters, from journals that people kept, piecing together the notes, as well as archaeological evidence, and just understanding how migration works. So it sounds like a lot of fields coming together, combining to come up with some, like, recreate this picture. It's really cool. Recreate this picture. Salmon cannon's a real thing, right? Also a great name for a game. I'm gonna do that thing I do, a salmon cannon game. Yep, salmon cannon. Say that 5 times. Say it, salmon cannon, salmon cannon, salmon cannon. No, I'm saying it wrong already. That's a hard one. That's a good tongue twister. Salmon cannon fires fish over dams at 22 miles per hour. Oh my gosh. Almost 500,000 views. People are really into this salmon cannon thing. I'm gonna post that. Elaki, oh hello! Good to see you. We're talking about salmon cannons, in case you're interested. We're all over the place today. That's totally cool though. I like it was evolving, and it's very organic. Different shapes, pattern. Oh yeah, if you're looking at the drawings, like what is even happening here? This is migration. This is my drawing of what migration looks like. This is, I don't know, a country with a coast and a bunch of dots on it. And now salmon cannons, right? Shoo! Fish. And it's happy. The salmon is happy because it is not stuck at the bottom of the dam, or the top of the dam. And I think this video is, or at least one of the videos was taken in Seattle. We actually went to the locks in Ballard, which is just north of Seattle, and they supposedly have a whole area next to the locks where the fish can swim through. It was off season, so we didn't get to see the fish, but I want to go back there and see all the fish swimming through it. Salmon cannons sound tasty. No, not for food. They're for living. You know, just Google Project Wet. It's an environmental ed program. And it looks like it's got a salmon game that uses... What? Oh my gosh. My dream come true. We're going to reproduce the salmon game. Or, as game designers want to do, look at the salmon game, maybe play the salmon game, and then modify the salmon game for our own purposes. Alright, where are we at? We made a journey today. Look at this. Everything from perspectives, pyramids, obscuration, covering things up, talking about sound games, touch games where you can feel things but not observe them visually, to migrations and traffic patterns. Like, how do we put it all together? How do we get to game? How do we get to game from here? Senior Bob, someday bears will learn to exploit the salmon cannon. If someone has not drawn a picture or posted a GIF or made a video or something of a bear just like with its face on the salmon cannon, I don't even know what people are doing with their lives. Like, I don't know if I have the skills to do this. Somebody needs to draw a comic. So image search. No, I'm not seeing a picture with a bear and a salmon cannon. Seems like a mistake. Seems like this is something that the world needs. Bears and salmon cannons. Something. I love the history or the story about this game, right? It's like, oh, you've made a game that is literally you throwing a salmon. There's a game called Happy Salmon, right? There's somebody dresses in the bear costume and you throw Happy Salmon and they try to catch it in the mouth of their bear suit. Where did that come from? Where did the inspiration for this game come from? Bear, that's not how you spell bear. Bear suit. Throw Happy Salmon at them. We try to catch it in the mouth of the bear suit. Nyctophobia uses touch as a main mechanic. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's also a Project Wild with wildlife activities games and a Flying Wild with bird activities games. Oh my gosh. Game biologist. I mean, everyone is my hero right now, but you're my double hero for... It's the kind of thing, right, that you're like, oh man, I really liked that thing when I was a kid. How would I ever find that? It's like, oh yeah, the internet exists. I still can't find it. It's like, oh, but here's the place where it could be. It's like a detective journey. A journey of detection. Just like with the migrations. Detectivism. Woo! 2 exclamation points. Elaki, hope your dev panel went well today. It was great. We did a Kickstarter panel. It was super fun. I was on there with Bebo and Victoria from Gladius, Ryan from AEG, Gerald from Ultimate Team Up, and Carol from Cheap Ass Games, and previously Wizards of the Coast, I believe. But super awesome people on the panel, and it was super fun talking about Kickstarters. We barely scratched the surface, but hopefully some good information for the audience members that were there. Elaki is the one who's involved with the RPG panel, the live RPG making thing that we're gonna do on Sunday. It's also gonna be super fun, and I gotta make a thing for that to make it easier to know mechanics and stuff. I'm excited and not at all stressed or nervous about it. Yeah, the panel was super fun. Have you heard about the Fat Bear contest? Oh my gosh, what is even happening here? Friends, we are all over the place. That's okay. We're having a shorter panel today. We're having a silly panel. I think that's probably a great way to come up with games, right? It's not about staying focused and having serious structure. It's about fat. Seriously, click on this link because okay, it's not making fun of the bears, because bears have to eat a lot to survive through the winter. They're really cute, and I guess you have to take pictures of them or something. As Outside Magazine explains in a fascinating post, there's a lot we don't understand about the science of bear hibernation. True. We know that bears are so good at packing on fat while remaining strangely resistant to plaque buildup in the arteries and barely moving for months without much muscle or bone deterioration. That's super fascinating. Many researchers are interested in our Earth sign friends for applications in long-term spaceflight or medical issues like atrophying effects of long hospital stays. That's super cool. Oh my gosh, all this fun information. Gosh, I'm so excited about that. We can learn about the Moir effect, hibernation, migration, orthogonal. This is like, I hope everyone feels very educated right now because I feel like I'm getting a lot, just inundation of education. Just want more. Pile it on. All of the knowledge. All right. Elaki is grabbing fun bits for use on Sunday. I'm glad, because I'm going to need something, bits or something. I still want to make a one-pager, like a cheat sheet for RPG mechanics, because I think they should be fairly self-explanatory. Or maybe just print out what's on RPG Geek. I put the link somewhere, but I think it was like Board Game Geek's cousin, RPG Geek, that had a pretty good breakdown, or was it Wikipedia? It was somewhere with the link, but I want to have the cheat sheet. Because a lot of stuff there is like, oh, I know how D6 system works, or Fate, or whatever. But in the heat of the moment, when the pressure's on, you're like, oh, how does that... And you can just make up stuff completely, right? I think part of the inspiration is to come up with really cool, innovative stuff, but if you can lean on existing things a little bit, it can be helpful too. Am I getting black on my nose? Because I'm definitely like rubbing this ink. I get ink on myself every time. This is, I'm inked. Oh no, I inked. I'm just drawing dots here for, oh man. So we're talking about the migrations and the cool stuff you can do. And I'm just drawing these out visually, but we're also talking about braille and dots, so it would be cool if this was something physical as well as visual. It'd be super fun. And have everything, dots and obstacles, have a very abstract vision of a migration pattern. Of migration patterns, dots, lines, mechanically shaped obstacles, rivers, valleys, lakes, mountains, have a textural element, so it's not purely visual. Stream of conscious panel, yay! This just be like the stream, right? I just say whatever is in my mind and probably doesn't make sense all of the time, or a lot of the time, but I say the words and then they exist on the internet. Bears migrate to another planet. Ah, space bears, yeah, space bears. I also love just going over these notes sometimes. I'm like, space bears, what were we thinking? Prime to be all scatterbrained for some terrapin. What is terrapin Greek? Bears, RPGs. Have you heard of Honey Heist? Like, no. Oh my gosh. Honey Heist is a surprisingly successful one-page RPG. Here's the plot. You have a complex plan that requires precise timing. You're a bear. Oh my gosh. This looks amazing. I'm going to post the link here. Doing an RPG jam is outside my wheelhouse too, so I hope I grab useful things. I mean, I can't just give everyone a box of meeples and tiddlywinks. I don't know. Be a different type of RPG. You can get creative too. Doesn't have to be dice. Can be cards. Can be tarot cards. Can be sheets ripped up, pulled out of a hat. What else? I've heard people using time. Like you look at a clock, do some math, and whatever that time it is makes you, like, you add the numbers together and make a number that way. You could potentially cheese it by like, okay, I want to cast this spell, but give me 3 more minutes. I just want to hang out 3 more minutes before casting the spell. Terrapin Creek might need a salmon cannon expansion. Ooh. Yeah. Sand timers. Sand timers are cool. I like the idea. Sand timers as lightly mechanical. One of the things I learned from listening to one of the old Ludology podcasts is sand timers are weirdly difficult to get the perfect amount of time. Like if you just get a 30-second sand timer, it could be 20 seconds. It could be 38 seconds. But using them, especially the big one, like the We're Doomed 15-minute sand timer, giving a sense of urgency, having, like, I like the way Magic Maze uses the sand timer for, like, you have to flip it over, like you get 3 flips of the 5-minute timer, so you don't have exactly 15, depending on, like, where you flip it over, like the double-sidedness of it. I'm like, wait, what did I click on this? Crazy with tactile, augmented reality topographic map. Oh, sweet. Oh, wait, is this? I saw something. Oh my gosh, is this the one that I saw in upstate New York? Because we went to this really cool. Yeah, it's like now I'm looking at maps. Is this? No, that's at the high school. I was like, oh, it's right near there. Baker. Okay, these are all at high schools. I must have seen. I saw something similar to this when I went to this cool interactive museum/ropes course in the Carousel Mall, or what was once the Carousel Mall in upstate New York. And the way they have, like, the projector and you move the stuff and it changes the colors. Yeah, I like that. I like it. Yeah, sand timers, real time, inspiration. I'm a little fascinated by bear claws. They're almost like a fingertip. It's like, is that so? Of course, I look up bear claw. People are like, the pastry. Yeah. I'm like, I want to dig more into this. Like, no, focus. I'm going to fall down a Wikipedia Google tunnel. I'm just going to even forget that the camera is going on. Just like, oh, that's really interesting. Give me all of the information about all the stuff. Terrapin Creek is a fishing game I'm working on. Sweet. I want to play a fishing game. That looks super fun. No, it's funny because I was reading about the fishing game and I saw the squirrel and I started laughing while I was reading because that is me. I am dog. Very much a squirrel. I am easily distracted, which is great. It's great. It makes for fun, easy to follow streams and hopefully entertaining, at least. Nothing if not entertaining. Lucky, I'm going to raid so many of my parts copies of games for this. Yeah, just bring weird stuff. Game jams, that's what's nice about physical game jams, is just bring a books, like blocks, markers, tortillas, stuffed animals. Like, there's so many things that you can be inspired to play around with in physical space. When I was doing the mini game jam for University of Washington for their high school pre-college program, did a couple of sessions of that, and they just had a bunch of old board games like raided from thrift stores. Like, bring in a copy of Monopoly or Scrabble, and these kids so smart. They just came up with the most amazing things, even though it's an existing game and has a lot of weight to it. And the kids are probably better at it because adults are going to be like, well, this is how Scrabble is played. But just having stuff. People are pretty good. Most of the people, once given a little bit of a nudge, you give them some stuff, let them mix things around. People are very creative. I think it's really cool how creative people can be. Ooh. Now that I'm looking at this thing that I drew, it also makes me think of the sand toy, where you have the different bubbles or spaces in it, and then the little goo floats down. It's like oil and water, right? And it floats down in different paths. Alright, I am going to have to go in a little bit. I still have a lot more PAX Dev stuff to get to. I'm looking at my picture here though. I'm like, I want to have something. It's like not quite a game yet, but a lot of fun pieces coming together here. I wonder if it's the kind of thing like the sound waves one that I'm working on, where just making the bits could be an inspiration. It's like, what if I had like pen dots on a piece of paper, or probably on foam core, because I got some more foam core recently. Sharpie on the foam core, and then the hot glue dots for like making an actual paths to represent the creatures in the migration, or I guess the footsteps, right? Because you could do either divots or bumps. Hot glue and Sharpies, or the surface. Unless the game itself was about making the migratory patterns. The game is me putting the hot glue onto the board and making these things. It's more of a toy, really. Leaving your own tracks. Although I do like the idea that we talked about earlier about diminishing items. So you have multiple creatures coming through, taking different paths, and then fewer creatures, until eventually you have no creatures left. Every time I think about that, right, I'm like, that's so sad. Like, can I even do that? It's just gonna be like, yeah, it's like, how do I make a game that just makes me sad every time I think about it or work on it? So that's a question, like with the texture, or it could be like we had talked about with the pre-made grid. Or foam core, or something that has just do a small representation. Man, this is hard to draw, but it has holes Like they're not going to be as visible as this, but you have like little pegs and holes, and you plot out the path. With the pieces. You can even have like the individual plot points and then like a ribbon or a string for the actual path that you wrap around them. I'm thinking a lot about cloths and fabrics and strings. Last week had a string component as well. Just weird, different components. Migrating marbles. Yeah, they have it like you hold it up and the marbles roll down like a Plinko machine. Rubber stamps of tracks on a giant piece of poster board and navigating between stopover points. The game Slide Quest could be repurposed as an animal migration game. I haven't got a chance to check that out yet, but I definitely want to. Game Baller says, all my games are built on sorrow, regret, and a commitment to do better in the future. And I'm okay with that. Gotta have that drop of hope in there somewhere. That's a good point. I'm gonna make a note of that because it is, I mean, it's good to explore some of these concepts, or a lot of these concepts are things that we don't spend enough time thinking about. But what is the goal of thinking about them, right? You don't want to get it to a point where doing this and just feeling bad afterwards, especially because feeling sad or feeling bad can be a demotivator. So you say, well, now I feel bad about stuff and I don't want to do anything. Whereas you want the emotional, the impetus to want to change things and a little hope for the future where you can make things better. So yeah, maybe lots of taking path for your creature, then there are none left. Then one returns. Ray of hope at the end. I think that's really important. Oh, excuse me. I like the rubber stamps too. Give a legacy game elements, and I've been wanting to play around more with stamps or stickers. Because I've been drawing stuff and using a little bit of stickers in my recent games, and it's very satisfying to make that sort of a permanent change onto something. I guess an acceptable change. I want to say a change that's validated by being part of a system. Like you can stick stickers to things, right? Like we stick stickers to a piece of furniture, we have a place to put them. But a lot of people get stressed out. It's like, oh, do I want to put stickers on there? They're hard to get off. Do I want to stamp this? Or you don't want kids writing on the walls or whatever. But having a framework for doing that can be very satisfying. The other concept that I've been playing around with a lot is a slow time games. So instead of necessarily being something that you would sit down and play all the way through, or like it's a 2-hour game, a 3-hour game, or it's a campaign that you play an hour over the course of 12 weeks, something that you're adding to, you know, maybe just doing a minute or a couple of minutes on a day, and then you might wait a couple of weeks and do a little bit more, and then you might wait a couple of days and do a little bit more. So this having a game, but having it be something that you come back to at variable intervals and spend variable amounts of time with, but never tons. You'll never need to spend like several hours on it at once. So this could be a cool application for that concept I've been thinking about. Mostly been trying to figure out how to apply it in a digital game. Phil and I have been talking about a couple of ideas for that, but doing it in physical could be so cool, especially combining it with wall art. Think the 10 by 10 game challenge. We will play 10 games 10 times. There's a board with a meeple, with multiple meeples, or dice to track your plays. So that's a cool thing. I love thinking big with these games too, right? Like, what if it's a big, wouldn't have to be huge, it was a piece of wall art. It'd be something you could stamp over time, and there would be a game in there somewhere. That would be super cool. And there was just a game in there, thrown in there. That's just the tricky part, right? Only just figuring out how the actual game here works. I think you're just thinking outside the normal frame of components in box, remove, put away. Thinking outside that a little bit, even though not having all of the mechanics locked down for it, it's a good place to start. This is acceptable. Oh, and then Game Ball just, of course, is like, so pathways in fabric. Oh, so cool. I love that. Ultimate Legacy game and frameable mechanic narrative device where my migration path gets blocked. Yeah, I got some of the mechanics in there. Man. I'm like, this is so cool. Maybe we should, like, maybe we have to come back to this concept. Like, oh, let's do so much fun stuff with this. Like, do we need to come back? That's a good question. You know, I've been using the framing device of starting from nothing, especially to help, you know, people pop in, pop out. And if you have any feedback, if you're watching the show and have any thoughts on, oh, I'm a little confused about where you are with things, or things are going great, feel free either here in Twitch or on Twitter to hit me up. Always want to hear what you're thinking about the show. But I've been doing a very episodic nature, always starting from scratch. It might be cool to come back to some of the things that we've talked about in the past, maybe flesh them out a little bit more, especially if I can make a prototype and have a little bit more of a narrative thread between all these things that we're working on. Scrapbooking. Each page includes stickers, drawings, writing about a game scenario. Yeah, I wonder if there are any, like, scrapbook type legacy games or storytelling games. Do these exist? I mean, they should, right? I know. I mean, it makes me think of, like, children's products, right? They have books with stickers that kids can play around with, but a more grown-up version. It doesn't have to be adult or grown-up, but something that's really nice, like a nice journal or book, but with a very strong game through line. I have to get those books. There was the like puzzle books that I saw recently. I think there was like the 2 different books where each person had one book and you were working on them together. So there's some interesting things in the puzzle space. But as far as game you can play through, very satisfying aesthetic would be really important to something like this. Very beautiful, but not so much people won't want to interact with it. There's the destroy this book is an example of that, but I think it's a little more freeform. I don't think it's a game. So making it very focused on being a game experience. Yeah. Have it be a game. What was the other thing that I was thinking? Scrapbook. Scrapbook. I was like, why are there so many bees in there? Would it be a solo game? That's what I was thinking. Solo. Lay flat for a more interactive experience. There's a couple of games that have book components, like Quirky Circuits. The board is a book. Board is a book, so it has different scenarios. Stuffed Fables, right? Has a same sort of book thing. The 1001 Odysseys, is that the Kickstarter, the storybook one? Yeah, 1001 Odysseys, I think, has a book component to it. So there's some things out there. But with an actual modification, I have to do some more research to see what's out there. And again, like I always say, there's, even if things are out there, you can still innovate and create cool, fun things adjacent to what already exists. Or maybe it's like a smaller thing that never got kind of a flash in the pan, never got a lot of attention, kind of died out, then doesn't necessarily mean that that particular type of game doesn't have an audience. Just maybe wasn't marketed right, the right people didn't hear about it. Could be a cool idea, just wasn't implemented very well. So there's a lot of reason to, you're like, oh, well, someone did something kind of like this. It's like, well, as long as you're not directly copying them, try it again. Especially if you have people you're showing, you're prototyping it, right, and showing it to people, and they're really excited about that, then that's a good reason that it should exist in the world. Yeah, there's a full-on scrapbooking industry for adults. Oh my gosh. Yes, I've seen some of this stuff. I've looked into it because I'm like, this, if I was not a game designer, this would probably be my avenue, because there's so, like, stickers and oh, it makes me think of Leslie Knope from Parks and Recs, and like all those amazing scrapbooks of like events and vacations. I was like, I'm this close to being like in sliding doors, right? In a slightly alternate universe. Like in half of my multiverses, I'm a scrapbooker. Yeah, nice components and like machines and a lot of really cool tools, actually, that I kind of want to look into for how useful they might be for game design. Albums come with page sleeves so you can slide individual pages in and out and move them around to fit your needs or narrative. Yeah, I like that. Digital bomb disarming game where the player get the instructions. Yeah, keep talking and no one explodes. Wonder what it would be like to design an approach to scrapbooking with an RPG campaign where the scrapbook created canon for the game. Oh my gosh, yes. I don't know if Elaki is still here, but I'm like, okay, I'm stealing this idea. This is going to be my RPG. It's going to be about scrapbooking. Dibs. I'm not going to steal your idea. I mean, I might develop out these ideas because a lot of them look super cool. But they're all of our ideas. We can all make stuff from this. Design approach to scrapbooking. Man. I'm like, I'm tying things up. I'm like trying to stay focused. All these are super cool ideas. I love this right at the end, just this outpouring of a million different game ideas, and seeds of ideas and creation to like scrapbooking and RPG, because I take notes for our campaign, just written notes about the stuff that happens. But if there was a way mechanically to work the scrapbooking into the RPG, that would be cool, so it doesn't impede, it's not a secondary element, but you're co-creating this artifact, right, together. And a lot of functional details. I feel like there's a lot of ways to do a more traditional scrapbooking or cutting things out. Takes some time to put together. There's glue that's drying, you don't really want to close the book, or maybe you make a scrapbook, a map together. Like, there's a lot of examples of this that I could see being like, oh, that's kind of interesting, kind of cool. I might do that one time and be like, oh, that was fun. It kind of bogged down the actual game aspect of it. But yeah, it would be really cool to make it work, flow, and actually an important part of gameplay. So scrapbooking is playing the game. Yeah, anything weird, anything like this that it feels like it should exist, right? Like, oh, I want this to be a thing. Sometimes people take these things and smash them together, be like, well, this game could be like this other thing, and just mash them together, and that would be really cool. And the end product, because it's not worked through and designed and play tested, it is just two things stuck together. But like this kernel, this idea, I feel like you could play test it where it would just be a really cool, seamless, natural part of the game. And this is the hour. This is the part of the show where I'm just like, and then we can make sparkle butterflies that fly through the air and touch everyone with their glitter, and everything is shiny. This is the long vision, the dream portion of the stream. I have dreams of really cool stuff that I don't know what it is. I don't know how to make it, but I want it to exist. Puffy stickers and holographic stickers and stretch. Oh my god, I haven't had scratch and sniff stickers in forever. Puffy. Okay, we're gonna. I'm finished the comment. Game Ballers are gonna bring it all back together. Puffy sticker of an impaled head. So you could add it to a page titled, "We had so much fun at the Hellmouth." Lol. I thought you were gonna talk about bears. Bring it back to the bears and the salmon cannon. So you're gonna scrapbook our salmon cannon bear journey. I can guarantee you that that is a sentence that has never been said before, and I'm excited to have said it here. Alright, friends. Sorry it's a little short today, but we spent a little extra time, so I'm happy about that. I'm headed back off to PAX Dev to do more fun industry stuff, network, hang out with some people, make some deals, and do some business so we can keep doing what we do here. Yeah, I'm not like tired now. I'm like, oh my gosh, all this flow of creativity has been energizing and exhausting, just having all these ideas. Also, I want to make stuff now. I'm like, I should go and do PAX Dev networking stuff, but I also just want to sit and make things. It's the tough part. Tough part about business. Making things, and then talking to people about those things so they'll give you money so you can make more things. Photo collage of a dungeon raid. Amusement park visit. Okay. We're just getting off the rails here. People are gonna keep doing stuff. I'm gonna keep taking notes because I think all of these are awesome ideas. As always, do the thing, talk the talk, make the money. Don't mention the salmon cannon with the fat bears, maybe. No, that's gonna be the intro. I'm gonna walk over and be like, oh my gosh, we just talked about. Did you know about salmon cannons? Let me tell you about salmon cannons. I don't know much about them, but they make the bears fat, and there's also green dancer dragonfly, green darner dragonflies with really long migration paths, and also the buffalo, but they're dead now, and it's really sad. Yeah, those are my conversations I'm gonna have with people because that's what's in my head right now. Anyways, thanks as always for joining me. This has been super fun. Always like being here with you all, creating new things, or talking about creating new things. Again, gotta keep jamming. I am making more stuff. It's like every day I want to make more stuff, and I keep making more stuff, and I need to make more stuff. I keep coming with more ideas. I gotta make the stuff for the ideas and be in the world. Do more fast stuff, right? I need more projects that take like a day to make. That was one of the ideas that I had, right? It's like taking the games, one-pagers, role-playing games. Actually, it's kind of adjacent to what I was thinking about, but I should just post some of this stuff, more of this stuff online. It is in the stream format, but I could post ideas from this. I'm doing that perfectionist thing, right? I'm like, well, it's not a prototype yet, it's not a game. I don't know how exactly I can put it in front of people. But just getting more of the stuff out, maybe doing some sketches, posting some more pictures from the little notebook that we have here. It'd be cool. I should put more stuff out there. It'd be cool. Yeah. Next week. I was like, what do next week? Right. Next week is Phil's birthday. Oh my gosh. Yes, but don't have any plans until after the stream. So we'll still be able to do the stream. So we'll be back here doing board game design. Same cool time, same cool place. Also have our stream on Fridays, which is our casual game playing stream. Oh shoot, my Mario Maker panel is right in the middle of that. Might be able to do an early-ish stream. So I'll keep everyone posted about that. Yeah. Keep everyone posted about stream schedule. Happy to have you join me today. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. If you have any questions about game design, just want to chat, I'm going to be at PAX Dev and PAX West this week. It's my most recent con. Also online, watch my stream, hit me up on Twitter. Always happy to chat. With that, I'm going to sign off. See y'all soon. Have a great rest of your week.